Hello and welcome to another episode of Frame and Reference. I'm your host, Kenny McMillan, and you're listening to episode 91 with Shea Vanderpoort, director of season 2, episodes 6 and 7 of Harlem. Enjoy.
Yeah. You watching anything good recently?
Oh, dude, it sucks. I have not really had time to watch anything unless it's on a plane. As I saw Decision to Leave on a plane, which is not the ideal place to watch it, but it was still awesome. And then I can just pop in a couple episodes of like an anime or something.
You're not even on The Last of Us right now?
No, oh my God, I can't. I'm trying to block it all out. I don't want to hear anything. All I just keep hearing about is how amazing it is. So I'm just like trying to dodge. So, okay, I'll jump on that. The dangerous part is that the Discover section of Instagram, because you know what I mean? Like if you're a filmmaker,
Twitter's even worse.
Okay, I'll completely stay off that. But it's like you see just one image and it doesn't even have to be for a long time. It doesn't have to have any context. If you're a filmmaker, you're like, oh God, I know what happens now. Damn it. Yeah. So yeah, it's tough. Or not even just a filmmaker, just somebody that kind of understands the story's structure, stuff like that.
Yeah. I got a 15-hour flight to Geneva next week. And so I'm sitting here going like, man, I haven't been out of the country in 15 years. So all my flights have been, 1 to 4 hours. So usually I just take a nap. I'm pretty good at that, window above the wing, head down, out, gone, and so now I'm sitting here thinking like, what do I download onto the iPad? Like, what am I supposed to watch? Oh, I guess they have the screen built into the back of I didn't even think about that. Mm-hmm. They usually have the screen.
Sometimes it doesn't work, and that's not cool. It's like, I'm on this. Did you say 15 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh shit, I don't have anything to do now.
You know what I did do is I bought, this is in the legal gray area of life, but this company Anbernic makes these Game Boy looking things, and but it's just a Linux computer, and so I've got like a few thousand ROMs on this Game Boy, and so it's like all the Pokemon, all the Metal Slugs, all the NES games, all the SNES games, all the way up to PlayStation, the first one.
Oh my God!
So I'm sitting here going like, I can at least kill 8 hours banging through like Pokemon Emerald or the first Metal Gear Solid or something like that.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Yeah, that was one of the best experiences I had playing a game. Was we were filming with this music nonprofit, and it was just me and my buddy, and we were just filming like interviews and stuff and kind of documenting what we're doing it was like Paris to Germany, somewhere in Germany, Finkelspiel, Germany. And Breath of the Wild had just come out and the Switch. And I happened to land one in Paris. And it was just like, oh, we're taking a bus to Germany. So I played that thing the entire time. And then on the plane all the way back. And it was the quickest, 12 hours, 11 hours that I had ever experienced, because I was so engrossed in this game. And it was the first time, playing on a screen that was like that big.
Right.
And kind of just, it was weird being in a vessel traveling, playing in this world. I don't know. It was just pretty cool. So hopefully you have that same experience.
Yeah. Breath of the Wild is a great game to kill time on too, because that thing goes, any Zelda game. That's going to be a hard one to turn into a fucking mini series. Like, which game do you play?
I don't know.
I mean, which game do you try to turn?
I don't know. That's
probably Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. It's got to be that. That's the one.
Yeah, that's got to be the one and season 2 could be Majora's Mask. Were you a big gamer growing up?
Growing up, yeah.
Music and film.
Growing up, I was a big gamer. Just like Nintendo stuff mostly. Mario, all that. Always the Mario, Zelda is like, I have to play those just because it's like such a big part of growing up. And it's also, I feel like, because a lot of those early Nintendo games, they feel like they established like the foundation of what games were going to be. So like if you just are good at Mario, you're pretty much be good at any platformer, like from then until eternity kind of thing. Because sometimes I'll pick up games and like my niece or my nephew or somebody will be like, how are you so good at this already? Like you just played it. I'm like, because dude, I played Mario. Like, yeah. It's just it's the bones, you know. But yeah, all that. Street Fighter is a big one. My license plate says Hadouken. So a lot of people know when I'm at the store or wherever. Yeah. So yeah, those were the big ones. I mean, just that. And it actually played a part when I was trying to figure out like professionally what I wanted to do. It's like I knew I didn't want to program games or anything like that, but I was like, I like operating a camera. I like video games. What can I do? And I sort of found my way into this video game media site, IGN. They like cover video games and stuff. Yeah, and it was really kind of a dream job. You know, like I already got into film. I was like just freelancing, doing whatever I could, and then found my way to them doing, it was like, I think it was like a True Blood red carpet thing. And I was just filming all the people doing interviews. And it was crazy because one of the years I did Comic-Con and I think it paid like, I think it was like $500, but they were like, oh, you have to have this kind of light. And the light was $500. And I was like, it was like my first, it was my first gig. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not getting paid, but that's all. It's okay. I got this. Like, you know, this is what I want to do. And those were the early days, you know, of like the DSLR stuff. And it was crazy because I was trying to make a new reel, found this file of like my old stuff. And it was one of those kind of red, was it the step and repeat lines, right? But it was the year, I don't know what year it was, but it was like Twilight. So I had the whole cast of Twilight, Looper. So I had freaking like Riot Johnson and
Just been like
Levitt.
0910 then, somewhere around there.
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. So yeah, around then. And it was like, it was crazy because it was every big film. Like, I think, what was that movie with the kaiju movie that,
Pacific Rim.
Del Toro, Pacific Rim. Yeah. I saw the cast and like director. It was crazy because going back, I'm like, man, that's a journey, you know, like being the guy on the carpet, like just holding the camera. But yeah, that was a long way to get to. Yes, I was a gamer, and like that was kind of my dream job for a while. And I was gigging and thought I would do it full time until I realized I really wanted to do more narrative stuff. And I felt like if I locked myself into that kind of job, that I wouldn't be able to find the time to do it, because whatever I'm doing, I really want to dedicate myself to that, you know, and not be splitting and having the work be affected because of it.
That's literally kind of the terms I had to come to this year. Was like, all right, I've been doing plenty of corporate work, but you know, you get a taste of narrative stuff and you're like, I'd rather be doing that all the time. But those jobs are a lot harder to get than the corporate shit comes all the time.
Oh my God, they are. You know, I think the cool thing, and you know, have you found this, is when I finally realized, for the longest time, I was like, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to do on the corporate stuff? You know, and I just kind of decided like, all right, what if I just kind of told them what I think they should do? Like, and here's a good idea, and always shifted toward the narrative, shifted towards something that could help me be a better filmmaker, whether it be like film or television or short film, anything like that. And I found that once I did that, it was so much more rewarding. And I also gained a bunch of new skills all of a sudden. Did you have that like kind of experience, or have you ever?
Yeah, I think the clients that I've had, luckily, haven't been too like I've had a few super corporate clients where they hired me to execute a function. But I think luckily the way that I positioned myself early on, they were kind of like, well, you're the creative, you tell it, like they'll have a framework and then I'll punch it out, which, especially nowadays, I am doing a lot more like, hey, I know you guys want to do this interview, but what if we, the whole thing, do it in voiceover and we like film, this important dude, the worst right now that I have no control over is everyone, when you're like, all right, we're doing an interview separate from what I just said. We're doing an interview. Can you send me some photos of the office? Like, so I can get a good idea of like where the windows are, what a good background would be, whatever. And then they always send you a photo of their conference room. Cause in their head, that's where interviews happen. Conversations happen in the conference room, and they're like, that's the only place we can clear out. And you're like, it's like they're in bathrooms for narratives. Like having to like doing a narrative in a bathroom is the worst.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Bathrooms.
There needs to be an entire film school, like a class in college just on lighting a bathroom. Because one whole angle is dead because of the mirror.
Yeah, I know that whole thing's gone, and then you're always in a corner, and you're just trying to get that separation from the background somehow, or something. I don't know, just trying to make it interesting. But yeah, bathrooms are very tough. There's a web series I worked on where we got kicked out of our location. It was like this bar, restaurant type thing, and there was a square dance class that was coming into the space we were filming, and we're like, we just have one more scene in the bathroom. Can we just use the bathroom? They're like, no, you guys have been here. You got to get out of here. So we didn't have money. Like we were just making this on our own.
Right.
And so someone went to the McDonald's across the street, and I was like, McDonald's is not going to let us use their bathroom. Are you serious? And they did. they're like, dude, they're cool. They let us do it. And I was like, not very professional, but I'll take it.
Someone somewhere slipped somebody up 50. The manager at the McDonald's, hey, I'll give you $50 if we can go. Better than doing heroin in the fucking bathroom at McDonald's. Like half of McDonald's. I did read somewhere, going back to something you said earlier about like having to buy the light. I had read that early on, it was especially, I guess when you were working on Awkward Black Girl, that you were just using all of your income to buy new equipment to like keep funding and get better.
Man.
And so I've done the same thing in my, not so much anymore, because now I actually have money that goes past what shit costs. But I was wondering if you would still do that today, if you would or if you would follow the traditional advice of stop doing that, rent when you need it.
I have a renting problem. I just don't like doing it. Because I think the way my brain works is like, if I were to rent this a couple of times, I could own it. And I think it just comes from sort of the DIY, like indie spirit of it all. Just like, hey, let's just use what we have. Especially during Awkward Black Girl, I just had my camera and like a ring light. And then I remember showing up and I was kind of like, okay, where's the crew and stuff? And it was just me. And I'm like, oh, it's like, we're doing it like this. Okay.
Right.
Which was cool because it's like, that's how I've done it. So I just didn't know at first, and so we all were just trying to get it done. I just can't do the renting thing. It's funny you say that because I was just in New York and I went to B&H. And I went to the used department and I got this like Leica lens. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's a nice one.
Yeah, it's like a Leica R.
Nice.
The 1.4. And it was crazy because it was like pretty good price wise. And then they're like, oh yeah, I'll ask my manager if we can give you a deal. And I was like, oh, it's already a deal. Like, thank you. So yeah, I would definitely stick to the purchasing because I'm one of those guys that it's like the annoying guy that always has his gear with him, like wherever he goes, to a restaurant. Yeah, it's like I'm doing tests, and people are like, oh my god. There's something about that ownership, increasingly, and where we're just always renting everything, like our subscriptions to our services, and
sure.
There's even like car rental new kinds of methods of like renting cars now, where it's like instead of owning it, you just rent from a company, which could work out. I don't. That's a whole other subject, but there's something about owning it and it being yours, almost like when I played music, it's like you have your guitar. Like, oh, this is my guitar, you know, and you kind of form a relationship with it because it's an extension of you. And that's how I feel about the cameras, you know, and I like to have it there. And when I'm renting it, it's like, it's super cool because it's something you can't afford to own. But then I think of all the money that's going into it. And it's always that balance of, okay, where is this going to land? It's going to be on the internet. What is the cost versus the quality kind of thing? Like, is it good enough? So, yeah, I always stick to it. Like the first time I always wanted, you know, a higher end cinema camera, but it was like, yeah, right. You know, for the longest time. And then once the Komodo came out, it was like, oh, like, or the, you know, the Black Magic, even before that, it was like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. This is pretty approachable. And then, with the Komodo, that was the first like Red I bought because it wasn't past that threshold. And I think also because I think I knew deep down, like I like to shoot, but that's not my final goal. Like it was always to be a director, and it was like, how much am I going to spend? You know, because I admire those people that buy the big boys, you know, and they're like, all right, here we go. Like my life is on this. That's cool. I love that because they know that's what they're going to do. And I wasn't sure. And I also knew that ultimately I did want to direct, and having a bunch of gear was like, you know, what happens to it after, you know, if I hit a good wave of directing a number of shows.
Yeah. The way I think, because I bought like a C500 Mark II when it came out. And, and so that's been good because it's like, in my opinion, that thing is the ultimate Swiss Army knife of cameras. You know, it's got full frame, it's got raw, it's got compressed, it can crop in, it can, you know, tons of EF lenses, PL mount, the whole thing. But I can't see myself buying a quote unquote better camera than that. Like I've interviewed people who are like, yeah, I just bought a Venice 2. And I'm like, what?
Whoa. Okay.
Like that's either you're getting, obviously I can't imagine they bought it outright unless they've got rich grandparents or something. But like that type of person, I assume, is renting that thing out. Like I would buy a Venice to just park at a rental house if I just wanted constant side income, you know. But yeah, there's definitely a threshold for my like purchasing of your lights. I tend to buy just what I need, you know.
That's like the last thing people buy. I'm always so baffled. I'm like, you have this amazing camera, but then you like don't have any lights. It's crazy. Lights and lenses too. Sometimes they don't buy lenses, and I'm like, you know, the cool thing about those two things is like the cameras are all gonna just decrease in value so quickly. And the, you know, lights, like shit, like the first lights I bought still look great, you know. Maybe not my ring light. I think that thing died, but yeah. I think that's an amazing choice. And like, there's always such little things too. Like, does that have built-in NDs?
The C500 has 10 stops of ND.
Oh shit. Wow.
Dude, I used it because I literally on a gig a couple, like 2 weeks ago, I was shooting in the desert. So it's very bright.
Oh, shit.
And I had Suma rays on there. Speaking of lenses, Suma rays are fucking gorgeous. Wide open. So T1.3. So I was at 8 to 10 stops at all times.
Oh my God. I got to see this.
I'll send you some screenshots from I'm still grading it, but I'll send you some screen caps. They look very nice.
That's sick. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like there's so many minute details when you're filming, and it's easy to kind of rely on the equipment, jump into it, and then realize like, oh shit, like I don't have any NDs. Like,
that's why I can't do Black Magic. The image is great, but I need those NDs.
Yeah. And it's whatever works for you and your needs. It's like, it's kind of like when people ask me like, oh, what's the best camera? What's the best phone? What's the best this? And I'm like, seriously, we're in an age where like, honestly, just get, any of them are amazing, but you have to know what's going to work for you. And you're so right with that Swiss Army thing. It's like, because you probably just have that body, you know, and whatever, like little attachments and stuff, and accessories. But I'm thinking about all the other stuff that I'm packing, even on a small shoot. It's like, oh shit, do I have my square filters,
Right.
this ND, that ND, this ND, that ND, you know, and it's so much crap, and it's really nice to have it all in that system. And I remember going to the Hollywood unveiling of like the C series, the Canon C series.
When the 300 came out.
Yeah. And it was funny because we were so fresh off the 5D. That's all we had used. And so when Canon announced that, we're like, all right, cool, it's going to be affordable. And then I remember the base were like, oh, that's not affordable for us. You know, we're like, but it's still sweet.
It was like 13 grand, wasn't it? Something like that.
I think so. Yeah, it really blew our minds because we thought it would be more in the range. I don't think we thought it was going to be 5D range, but we thought it was going to be more like standard camcorder around that time. I want to say it was like $4,000-ish, like the Panasonic stuff. I can't even remember the name.
I still have an AF100 in my
oh my
closet.
God, dude. That's the workhorse right there.
I just brought it out. It still looks pretty decent. It's not too bad. A little crunchy in the highlights, but
that's cool. I'm glad it still works and all that. That's cool.
Yeah. I haven't sold. I was just talking to a guy on Twitter, Eric Nasso. I still own every camera I've ever bought. But I've only bought like 10, including photo bodies. I've only bought like 10 cameras in my life. So.
Okay. Yeah. I usually try to sell them for super cheap to someone in my family. So like, luckily my brothers, do some film stuff too. Like they're also filmmakers, and it's like I can't let it go. Like I want to hold on to it, you know. So I'm like, hey, can you buy this for super cheap? And they're like, yeah, I'll take it. So that we all get the benefit, you know. I don't lose it, you know. Just say bye forever. So many memories too, you know. It's like it's hard for me. I get really sentimental about like the memories attached to the camera. So if you just sell it off, it's kind of like, damn. There it goes.
I think your analogy to guitars is like actually perfect. I gave my friend my old Nikon D90 because I had bought an XT3. That's how far apart I buy cameras. Bought an XT3, and I was like, you know what? She's trying to get into photography. Here's my D90. It's not great, but it'll get you somewhere. It's better than, you know, whatever point and shoot you're using. And then I saw very quickly after that she bought a more modern camera, and I was like, oh, whatever. And my friend Chase was like, dude, you got to get that thing back. And I was like, why? Yeah. And he goes, dude, you shot everything. I worked at Red Bull for 8 years. He's like, you shot everything you ever shot there, everything you shot in college, and a little bit of high school. Like, go fucking get that back. And so I was like, and I did get it back. It's like covered in gaff tape. It's all jacked up. But it did occur to me. I was like, I didn't think I was going to be sentimental about that piece of junk, but like I am. I still have my XL2. Same thing. It's like, I don't need this, but I want to frame it, you know?
You have to, man. I mean, that's when everything's gone, that's what we got. You know, it's cool. See, actually, shit, you're reminding me. I think my friend Nick has my 5D that I let him use, and then he upgraded. I got to get that back. Nick,
get it back, dude.
Give me my camera back. I did all the awkward black girl stuff on that, so I got to get that back.
And that's OG good too. All the stuff I made, no one's gonna see. Awkward black girl launched careers.
Hey, you never know. You never know.
Plus, the 5D Mark II is like that's a Hall of Fame camera.
Man, it changed my life. You know, it really gave access to everybody, and then I think that was something that was so hard, like the barrier, like for entry, just to be a filmmaker. It's crazy the times we're at now. It's like, man, I see these kids and they're making stuff like, damn, but slow down. You know, like to get a good image like that back in the day was like impossible, you know. And the guy I started with, my buddy Steve, it's like, you know, we were doing stuff, you know, we're like best friends. We're like making films with all our friends, and that's all we did with all our time. And we look back on it, and we're like, man, if we had the stuff that these kids have now, it's like it would be a whole other like world for us, you know, because him specifically at that time, like I didn't really know much about film. I was just kind of having fun. But looking back now, I was like, dude, how did you have it figured out back then? Like you knew how to shoot stuff. There was intention. Your camera movements were like, they would be flashing stuff, but they'd make sense. But like all our stuff is like 480, you know, it's like grainy, all of it. It's just so limited by the technology. So it's like
nothing was in 24p. Everything was 30.
No. Yeah. And I get a little sad about it. Like, man, if we just had what we had now or have now, it would kind of like stand the test of time, which is tough. Like it sort of does, but it's at that point where it just looks like digital, like aged digital imagery,
right?
You know, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, 5D, man.
I do find, because I've either talked about or think about this often, but it's like, if we had, you know, a C300 when we were younger, and also I think the pace of new cameras coming out and how good they all look, if we were in that position, would we, as I've seen online, get distracted by the shiny toy? Because I think the thing that made certain early internet, let's say web series or videos, anything like that, good, is that because there was such a large barrier to entry, you tried a lot harder. You knew you had to come correct.
Yeah.
You know, at the attempt that maybe someone would give you a roll of 16 after seeing this and you could make something cool, you know?
Dude, oh my God, my first short was on 15. No, yeah,
I would definitely get distracted for sure. I came into filmmaking from a tech side before I came around to like cinema.
I agree. Take a sip real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
No, I totally agree. I think that I would get distracted and I would definitely be diving into the tech a lot. Like, oh, what could this camera do? What are the possibilities? This will then allow us, always validating a way for me to buy a new camera somehow, or like, you know, trade in the one that I have. I think it would be a distraction. For sure. Like I would be distracted because I did that throughout the whole like 5D era, all the Sony stuff, the A7, like once they started doing.
Oh, the A7, I thought you were going to say like the F3s.
No, the A7S, the F3 is cool too. I haven't had too much of a chance to play with it, but just that whole like low light craziness that Sony introduced. And it was always like every time they announced something, I'm diving in. Oh, well, we could do this. Oh, we could shoot high speed and low light. Oh my God, you know, and I'm just hours focused on that, getting distracted ultimately. And this kind of goes back to what you were saying about the rent versus own. What I realized was I can't compete financially at all with any of these people. You know, like I've got insane, because my film stuff started right about the time that we had like started to buy a house. We lost it. I had like insane student debt, student loan debt, all this stuff. And it was like, well, I can't compete financially. There's just no way. I can't buy this expensive stuff. So what I'll trust is sort of my brain, I guess, my ideas, the thing that you can't really buy. Like you can't buy ideas so much in terms of like creativity, and you can't buy hard work really.
Nice.
Or like you can outwork people, you can like out idea them. And that was kind of like, all right, I'm going to bank on that because I don't have the finances to support like what I'm trying to do here in terms of equipment. So I think owning the stuff was really helpful because if I could just understand this piece of equipment so well, that I could just get the best image out of it. That was one thing. And I think banking on like your ideas and kind of your brain power versus the equipment is good. And so just going back to what we said, I think that like owning it is definitely the way to go, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
Depending on where you're trying to land.
Well, and especially like the way I've always looked at it is I will be sitting there, you know, bored or maybe inspired by something or just want to test something out. And it is nice to grab the tool you will ultimately use and test that thing. You know, got all my equipment is in this walk-in closet in my office here. And it's just every once in a while I'm like, oh, you know what? And then I'll just go grab it and start playing around and test new lighting. And, you know, it's nice to have all that stuff and know your tools intimately. The thing that I've always quoted was Adam Savage from the Mythbusters, who said the way that he buys new tools, and he's referring to like tools, you know, hammers, whatever, is to buy the cheapest one you can that serves the purpose. And then once you figure out what it gives you, it doesn't give you, to buy the best one you can afford. And I think that's the best way to go about getting anything. If you like, I'll tell this to kids on Reddit all the time. Like whenever, hey, can someone recommend something? I'm like, literally the cheapest one that you think looks interesting, get that first. And then once you know what you need, you'll know which one to upgrade to. Because everyone always goes, oh, I got $1,000. What should I get? And I'm like, first of all, no, nothing is $1,000.
Yeah, it's true.
Fuji XQ2, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. What I do think also that doing that, kind of a byproduct of it, is that it makes you better. It makes you have to, like what I found was that because of the lack of dynamic range, the lack of like latitude and all that stuff, you had to nail it, man. I mean, like you really had to be on it. Like you couldn't overexpose or it's looking bad. You couldn't underexpose or it's getting grainy, whatever. And what I found was that a lot of people that were shooting on the higher end cinema cameras, when they were given those tools, they would just totally kind of fuck up, you know, like bad. And I'm like, wait a minute, but you shot this. And, you know, when you're new, you don't know the whole process of, okay, these people are shooting raw, they're bringing it in, someone's correcting it, and then they're grading it. Just that whole pipeline. I wasn't really aware of it because I had gone to the school I went to. I had finished. I ended up taking film, and then we shot on 16. And we didn't do that process really. We just kind of shot it. And okay, cool. Here's my project. You know, and not knowing that it's like you're thinking like, oh, how are they getting that look? You know, and then when they're given, I think when the playing field is leveled, that's when it shows like where everyone, what their actual baseline is, where they exist, you know, skill wise. And I found that a lot of people were just shooting on those cameras because they could kind of mess up really and just save it in the end. So I think when people use, like you're saying, the either the cheapest one or the tool that they can afford, just learn that tool, you know.
Yeah. And also I've noticed that like it starts to build, even if it's not what you want, it starts to build an aesthetic. You know, if you use the same, like I shot the first 5 years of my career, I shot everything on the C100 Mark II and the Sigma 18-35, everything. Cool. So there was a very consistent look to everything that I made, because down to the lens, right? And also what the visual language I was using, because it was a short zoom, you know, where I was putting the camera, the movements I was making, the amount of coloring you can do in an 8-bit 420 space, you know, having to nail it. I started building these picture profiles, or a picture profile for that camera that I ended up selling if anyone wants to buy one. But I've had a bunch of kids come back to me and be like, yo, that picture profile breathed new life into my C100, just because again, did it out of necessity. I was like, I need this to look better, quicker, because I didn't have Resolve at the time. Resolve wasn't available, or it was too expensive or whatever. I just had very minor adjustments that I could make.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing, is a lot of times you don't have time for all of the whole process. So that's awesome. Like, if you can save people time and get them to feel like their tool has a new kind of step, you know, and like, yeah, breathe new life into it, like you said, I think that's that's invaluable, you know.
Yeah. Well, it gets you excited to shoot again. You know, new things get everyone excited. You know, I accidentally overbid on a GFX 50R. Oh, dude, that was a mistake. But I mean, I ended up paying about the same as they cost used, but at first I thought I was getting a deal. But granted, I'm poor now, but I'm really excited to shoot with this thing.
Oh my God, that's something to be prepared for. That the whole like,
Ranch, yeah. What actually got you? Because you said you wanted to be a director, but you started kind of as a DP. Was that just a stopgap to directing, or did DPing kind of inform, I want to be a DP or a director?
Yeah, I think when I got into it, I sort of was like, let me try my hand at everything and then see where I best fit. You know, what am I best for? Because I think one of the things that I really am not a fan of is when people sort of occupy a space and they don't really want to be there. It's just kind of like, why? Like, why are you doing that? You know, like someone else wants to be here and would be the happiest, like, human after being in that position. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I get it if it's like you're working your way up, but also like be that position that you are, you know, because that was another thing that was cool to learn, was like, okay, if I'm editing for the director, like I'm not going to try to be a director while I'm the editor. You know, maybe I can bring some ideas that a director would bring respectfully, but I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to step out of my lane. And so for me, it was really just a learning process and doing working in every position that there was. One, to find what I wanted to do, but then two, to make me the best of that it would be. Because clearly, like, if you're a good editor, but you're a DP, it's going to inform your shooting, right?
I've said that a million times.
Yeah. And, you know, I have run into that a couple of times where a DP may say like, hey, you won't use that, or that doesn't make sense, kind of chronologically, you know, in how the cut would work. But they're thinking very literally, you know, and I would say, no, it'll be fine. It can work because we're in film time. When we cut to the other location, we can rewind time by 20 seconds. So whatever happened on this end doesn't have to happen exactly. And then in their head, they're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. But if you were to see it, they'd be like, oh yeah, that totally works. So it is hard, because when you're on set and you're just kind of running like that, it's hard to take your brain out of that and zoom out and see it from a broader perspective. But I think my journey really started as like, I just loved holding a camera. I loved framing. I think that came from my love of like comic books. I wanted to be an illustrator all the way up until, I would say, college. And then I kind of went into music and then went to film from that. But I think it was just holding the camera, operating. I guess it's just like the camera nerd in me or something. Just like loving having your hands on things and controlling it is really cool. So started that, and then that kind of brought me to cinematography. And I think with cinematography, like, I really enjoyed it, but I just like, there was something down there. It was like, you know what? Like, I love this to a degree, because I would learn more information. And usually if I'm absolutely in love with something, I never want to stop learning about it, or I'll never like kind of I'll never like hit that wall. Right. Yeah. And with cinematography, I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, oh, IR pollution, what's that? Oh God, okay, I'm over this. Just like
Yeah.
too much. I don't want to have to know about all this stuff. Stop, two stops, what? Like, we're getting out of count and all that. It's like, can I just look at the monitor? So I knew, for me, I had to take the responsibility of, look, you love to shoot, but if you're not feeling this new information and you're kind of like over it, you're not a DP, like just at heart,
Right.
And then with editing, I moved on to that because it was such a DIY thing. It's like, I can't just be paying people to edit or finding people to edit for free. So then I learned that, and I really love that because you're telling the story. You really realize, like, if you hang on a shot for a certain amount of time, or if you show a certain image in sequence, move it around, it's a different feeling psychologically. So I kind of was just like doing all those jobs. And then I realized, like, man, this is making me a better director.
That was going to be my next question, is like, how do all those things, because that's, people have described, not that I name drop him every fucking episode, but like, people have said this about David Fincher, that he knows everyone's job pretty much better than they do. So he's able to more efficiently dictate things, or know when people aren't giving not their best necessarily, but maybe he can push them a little further because he knows that they can actually do that, because he can.
Totally. You know what? That is, I think, sort of, it's something that I probably don't really try to put out publicly, but I try to, in my own practice, that's what I'm thinking in my head, is like, look, I can do this better than you. So like, you should do it, like, do a good job, and it's just because I think ultimately what it comes from is I respect the titles so much, and I respect the craft so much. I think I just come from a time and place where if you say you're something, like, you better do it. Like, you better be good at it. You better be competent, and like, you should be able to show like a palpable, like, tangible thing of what you're talking about. Like, if you say you're good at basketball, like, you better show me that you're good at basketball, even though just, because there's nothing more disappointing and frustrating and irritating hearing about how good someone is or how much they want to do something and they're just terrible, or they don't do it at all. I'm sure you've heard that, seen that a million times.
I find that people give their titles aspirationally now,
Yes.
which you would never, I shouldn't say never, because I don't know, but like, I can't imagine someone going, oh, I'm a carpenter. And then you go, oh, show me some stuff you've carpentered. And they're like, oh, no, I haven't yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's tough, man. Cause I think we want to be respectful, but also like to just kind of endow yourself with a title is pretty crazy. I had the hardest time saying I was a director. It still feels weird. Like, it's like, yeah, I'm a director. And it's like, I don't know, I need to earn it somehow. Like, somebody needs to put a belt on me that's a director, or like, like
it needs to say Emmy nominated before your name.
Yeah, yeah. The queen needs to put some swords on my shoulders or something. Like, I don't know. It's just, it feels weird because you don't ever want to feel like you're putting yourself above anyone or anything like that. And I just respect so many people I've met throughout just this journey. I think, like, I've been lucky to, I shot a documentary for a woman named Anne Gorso, and she is a director and an editor, and she edited 3 films for Francis Ford Coppola. And nice. It was so crazy because, like, I was so nervous to even show her a frame, because she had worked with so many legendary cinematographers and directors and stuff. And, just to work with someone like that, a buddy of mine, John Paul Horseman, he cut a bunch of Andrew Dominik's films, and he's done like just such great work. He does all of like Billie Eilish's music videos and stuff. And I see how hard they work. I see how much they focus on the craft without necessarily talking about it. And I just always respected that, just how much they were about the work. But I have seen the negative side of doing the work and not talking about it.
Yeah.
No one knows you did it. So,
Well, that was something Tyler, the creator, said, where he was like, and it's completely right. Like, we all feel like shills when we're like, hey, I made this thing. Can you look at it? Because no one wants to. That's supposed to be marketing's job. Why do I have to do it? That's not my job. Yeah. Especially these days, they're like, can you post about that on social? It's like, no, you do it. I made the fucking thing.
Yeah.
But Tyler was like, if you're not your biggest fan, like, who's going to champion it? And something I said a million times. Yeah. And something I've said a million times is like, your friends won't support you until they see strangers celebrating you. So you have to get past that barrier of your friends. You telling your friends, oh, I made this thing. They go, good for you. No one, my friends have bought more jewelry from my sister makes jewelry. My friends have bought more stuff for my sister than they've ever seen my stuff. Subscribe. None of my friends subscribe to my YouTube. Are you fucking kidding me?
Come on, man. Come on, sister. Yeah. Oh my God, that's crazy. You know what? Actually, that's such a cool, that's just something that is really important. And I think an important takeaway, because it sounds like you and I are the same, where we just want to do the work and like focus on that. And with Tyler saying that, I think I might have seen that. And he was talking about like,
it was like
he had done something. Yeah, like he had put out an album and he's like, it came out a year ago and I'm still talking about it. And it's like, yeah, man. I mean, if somebody as successful and creative and prolific as that is, being his biggest cheerleader, and he's not too cool to share his stuff and say, hey, check this out. It's like, from all of the different perspectives of like, I don't want to share this because I don't want to feel like I'm showing off, or I don't want to share this because I just want to do the work. Whatever it is, it's kind of like, throw that out and just, you have to let people know what you're doing. And I think if it comes from an honest place of just being happy to share what you work on, then like, fuck it, Well,
yeah, I think too, it's like when you're not at a level, like I'm sure with like something like Harlem, it's easier to say, look, I made this thing for Netflix.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, I made this short that's on YouTube, which I feel like, if I were to be perfectly honest, probably feels more like admitting that you're an amateur, or admitting that you're not successful yet.
Okay. But yes.
Telling people, oh, my stuff that I put a lot of work into is only on YouTube, which of course is bullshit, but it's a real feeling. I mean, it's the same thing when we're talking about not saying that you're a DP or a director or whatever. It's like, on the other hand, how do you tell people that's what you do or want to do? Like, what do you call yourself? Director in training,
yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Because if you're like, oh, hey, I directed this thing on Harlem, or it's like this thing Harlem on like Amazon, right? Versus,
is it on Amazon? Did I say Netflix? I fucked up. My bad.
I think you said Netflix. Well, it's all good. I figured you were just talking about the bigger streaming services that people.
Yeah. No, I was trying to name the specific one it was on.
No, it's Amazon. It's Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Amazon. Hopefully Netflix is next. Maybe you're predicting the future. I'll do a Netflix thing.
Hey, their PR people listen to this. I'm friends with Netflix. They,
Hey, yeah,
my
there we go. Yeah. I think I totally agree with you. There's like a status thing, and I think it just depends on the person. It's probably just best to ignore all that, and just focus on doing a good job and doing your work. Because now that you're saying that, it reminds me of when we were doing Awkward Black Girl, and so many people would, they would try to find something to knock it down, like, oh, it's just on YouTube. Oh, the sound is bad. Oh, it doesn't look that good. Oh,
for those who don't know, this is with Issa Rae. This is not this eventually became a thing.
Yeah, it's Awkward Black Girl, starring Issa Rae and written and produced by Tracy Oliver, did Girls Trip and Harlem, and Girls Trip 2 is coming out. Her new movie, The Blackening, just the trailer came out. I mean, they're both like these colossal, pillars of
Talents,
creativity and talent. Yeah. And we all started with no connections, like just let's do a web series together. And we didn't have money, we were like barely affording anything, and we were all gigging on the side, just trying to make money. I was shooting anything and everything that came my way, events, weddings, like conferences, interviews, whatever, we did have that. It was like a stigma, like, because now, I mean, even streaming was a stigma back then.
Right.
You kind of brought me back. I forget. Yeah.
People used to poo-poo. Oh, it was worse than straight to DVD.
Yeah. Which is insane when you think about it now. I mean,
and only in like 10 years. It only took probably less than 10 years for it to go, ew, you're online, to like Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. I think I name dropped that like a couple.
Oh, so yeah.
But like that was what, like 2000. That was the writer's strike. So that might have been like 05 actually. But even then, people were like, "Oh my God, Neil Patrick Harris is doing the internet. This is ridiculous." It's like, that guy's a magician. He'll do your iPad.
Oh, how far he's fallen. He's on the internet. I mean, you're right. There's always these stigmas and these things, and I just was like, look, if here's the crazy part. I'm doing TV, big like studio, like Amazon. It's also a Universal show. I just did a Disney thing right before that. And man, there's no difference. Like, it's a bigger crew, it's a bigger budget, but the craft is the same, I kind of always attribute it to like, it's hard for me not to attribute it to something like a fight, I guess, or like, training. It's sort of like you're just getting all these skills, and then it's to bring it into this sort of fight or battle or whatever. And it's like, whether you're fighting, I guess, on a big, in a ring, in an arena, or an octagon in an arena, or like a small local show in an Indian casino or something. It's like, you're still fighting, it's like, it's not different. It's a bigger stage. There's more lights, there's more funding, but a fight is a fight, and it's the same thing. It's like, it's not different. Like, it's actually in a lot of ways easier because you have so much more help, like there's so much more help. It's harder in other ways. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of just planning, and you kind of notes and things like that. And, but it comes with the territory, and there's a lot more, freedom in doing your own stuff. And it comes out right away. And like, sometimes there are heartbreaking things. I was just at a DGA meeting, and one of the members said that they shot this entire show. It was the best work of her career. And then they just decided like, oh, it's not going to air, kind of thing. And it's like, dude, no way.
And it's like, why can't they just, I'm sure there's a real reason, but like, why can't they just put that on YouTube? Fuck it. Like, if you're not going to release it for money, release it for free.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm still that kind of stuff. I'm learning all about, the whole industry and stuff. And it's a different place. But it really is similar, just bigger, I guess. More things.
And something too that had occurred to me is like when we were talking about, like the gaffer wants to be a DP, or the fucking, wants to be a director or whatever. Or is when you're talking about indie versus quote unquote pro or whatever. I think it's hard for any of us to not let what we want or where we see ourselves, or this like idea of, I want to be making big budget feature films, whatever it may be, rob us of the enjoyment of now. Like, what you're doing now can still be fun. Don't let what you want, that it's not this, oh, I want to be making big films, but instead I'm working this corporate thing. This sucks. It's like, well, that's where you're at, bro. Just like enjoy that. Like enjoy where you're at.
100%.
With the target in mind, but like don't rob yourself of what you're currently doing. You're gonna be miserable perpetually.
And I love that you say that, because it kind of makes me think of two things. One, it's like, do you really love what you're doing then? Because if you don't, you should get out. You should get out, because it's going to hurt, you know, and it's going to, like you said, perpetually you're going to be upset, and it's not good for anyone. Number one, it's not good for that person. It's just, you're going to rot inside, and then you're going to like, that's going to spread to the other people around you. And why would you do that? You know? And two, it reminds me of, you just don't know what you're doing, like, and how it will benefit you in the future. You know, not that we only do things for benefit, but it's like, it makes me think of an immediate, like, these things are always full circle. I can't express enough how many times it feels like there's this weird cosmic path that I'm following. And this is just one of the recent ones. A few years ago, I was doing, again, for that music nonprofit session, we were doing interviews at this big studio. It's called, where the Bee Gees have recorded like their famous album. And so recording this stuff, and I hear like someone goes, "Hey, Pharrell's next door." I was like, "Oh, really?" Like, oh shit. You know, because he produced our first season of Awkward Black Girl. I'm sorry, the second season, when we actually got funding on the second season. And so he produced that and gave us and Issa a platform to actually be seen, be heard, get out a little more, which eventually led to Issa's HBO show Insecure. So it's like a lot was owed to that. And so I always wanted to thank him, but I never got to. So I heard he's next door. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go in there. So I go in and I walk in, and no one's stopping me. You know, it's kind of like I wasn't just marching in there, but no one stopped me. So I was like, okay, well, it must be cool. So I walk in, and he's just like on the keyboard like this. And like, I think he was Future. I don't know. I was kind of panic mode. Future was like there. So he was like, yeah. Look, they're like in a session, like hard, like into it, in the zone. And I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't be in here. And I just kind of like reversed back and like opened the door, like that Homer Simpson meme, you know, like, oh crap. And then so I went outside, and someone was out there, and I was just like, hey, do you know Pharrell? Yeah. I was like, hey, can you give him this note? And it just said, you know, thank you for giving us a chance, you know, something like that, believing in the little guy kind of thing. And I just said, you know, from the Awkward Black Girl crew. It's just like a little handwritten thing. And so I don't know if he ever got it, whatever. Years later, maybe 2-3 years later, I'm interviewing for Harlem, and Mimi Valdez is producer, business partner and stuff. She's there in the interview, and I tell her that story, and she's like, oh, no way. She's like, look, because she reminded me, she's like, you know, we did Awkward Black Girl for you guys, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I didn't meet you guys. So she was like, no way you did that. She goes, I'm going to call him right after this and see if he got it, you know? And so I still have to connect with Mimi and see the results of that. But I mean, I got the job, you know, and I worked on Harlem, and I was with Mimi on set during my time there. So it's just, you don't know, like if I were all jaded and upset about the job I was on and wasn't in the right mood or whatever, you know, you don't know what little things can help, like get you the job. And sometimes it's just a little connection like that, you know, it's just a little thing like that. I'm not saying that got me the job, but someone having a connection initially from 10 years ago, and then, oh, here's this other thing that happened. It's like, you're going to lean in that direction. I feel like, I don't know for sure, but yeah.
Well, I've seen people complain about like incorrectly calling it nepotism, but what they mean is like people basically only hiring within their little friend circle or whatever. And it's like, but that's, if you're going to spend 9 months working on something, like you're not just going to hire this random student person who you should give a chance because you should, because they might fail on you. People need to be tested. And like the way that you get tested, well, get tested, everyone. The way that you get tested is you do the smaller work, build that body of work that shows you know what you're talking about, which I actually had read somewhere where you were talking about you basically took a year basically saying yes to everything that came your way. You kind of mentioned it earlier, but the little thing that I wanted to touch on, because I had run into this problem recently, was sussing out who is dishonorable or not someone you should work with. What are some of those flags, those red flags or signs that let you know I need to get the fuck out of here, no matter how attractive that gig may be?
Yeah. Man, one of my favorite things,
because I also say yes to everything, but yeah.
No, I mean, it can bring you into some pretty cool situations that got me where I was. But, there were a lot of times where I did get kind of like directly screwed over, where it was like not getting paid, or someone taking an opportunity that I should have been a part of, but wasn't. This is like happened countless times, and I'm like, is it me? Like, what's going on? But I always try to just accept that as like, I felt bad for that person, because it's like, why did you feel the need to do that when we all kind of know, what transpired, and it's like, and how it took place. So I'm not the one that has to sleep, fall asleep at night knowing that, or be uncomfortable when we're in the same room or whatever. I think the thing that I love about film so much is that it's so hard. It's so high stakes. It's like you find out who people are real quick, because I know a lot of people who are like, oh, this is my best friend. I like my girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. And it's like, like you guys haven't been through anything yet. Like you have not been in a tough situation yet. Like figuring out where you're going to go to dinner, what movie you're going to see is not hard. Like you and I take on a gig, who knows, man, they might forget our flights. We get delayed. We're stuck in Canada. It's freezing. We have all this gear, you just don't know. And it's the way that you and I are going to handle that situation, how we behave in those tough circumstances. That's people show you who they are so fast, so fast. One thing I was watching is that it's something like Alice in Borderland on Netflix. And it was
someone recommended me that. I've heard that's good.
Yeah. I didn't even watch it like in order. I kind of had it on. And then there was an episode that I sat and watched, and it was, they were like battling to the death. These two teams were competing, and one of the sort of like antagonists, what he said, the best part about this is facing death, you get to really meet someone, like who they truly are. And it's the same thing, because everything is on the line. So if it doesn't go our way, how are you going to act? How are you going to react? And so that's what I look for in terms of the signs. It's like, if somebody's very selfish, if what their concern is like, oh, but what about me? We did have a situation one time where the production company, I think they just mismanaged their stuff. And for some reason, like no one was getting paid. And then certain members were like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And it's like, yeah, but our friends who are the producers, like, are going to suffer way more than us, stuff like that. Just, I understand that, like, totally, because you've dedicated yourself to something and you will be directly affected. But I think it's good to think about others. And when you see that people aren't doing that, it's like, all right, red flag, look out for that. And sometimes you'll just be blindsided. You know what I mean? Like I had an instance where I did 2 seasons, I shot of this show, and we did, it was a pilot for a new show. And guy said, "Oh, my daughter's sick. I gotta go get her." And we're like, "Oh no," and then just doesn't pay anybody and never saw him again.
Oh,
And this,
wow.
and this is somebody who we worked with for 2 seasons of something else, treated us very well, always paid us, was an awesome guy. I don't know. Just happened. Like, I'd never seen him, haven't seen him since. We had a bunch of mutual friends. They hit him up and were like, "Hey, what's up, man?" They're like, "You can't be doing that." And he just kind of like, I don't know. He's just out there doing his thing. I don't even know if and if I ran into him, I don't know if he'd remember or anything, but it's just kind of crazy because it's like, sometimes you just don't know. And that's unfortunate, but I think most of the time you do, because you'll see just that they are mostly thinking about like how they benefit and not treating you a certain way. And sometimes it's intentional and sometimes it's not. And I've also had to do that as well, where kind of unintentionally, it's very much, and I'm sure you've experienced this in the client world, where it's like you pull off a freaking miracle, dude. Like what you just delivered them, that should not have happened. That it like all against all logic, I'm sure you've delivered packages and you're just like, yeah, man. And then it's sort of like, cool. Yeah, like, wait, that's it. Like, okay, do it again. It's like, Jesus, all right,
The one that comes to mind that isn't too intense, but I did an interview thing, and LAPD, or no, just a news helicopter. We were right next to the freeway, and there's a big accident that happened, and so there happened to be a news helicopter 50 yards outside this window that we had to film next to. And the sun was going down, and we're using that as our main light. Cause again, this was like really fast. And, I delivered pristine audio. Took me forever. And they didn't even notice. They were there. They were the guy I delivered it to was in this, like in the room, like, is that going to be okay? And I just had to be like, yeah, what else are we going to do? Like, I can't say, no, it's not. We couldn't reschedule this thing. These guys are from out of town, so it's just like,
yeah. It's crazy, right? Because it's like, they don't know, but I guess that's our job, and you can't.
I've learned to stop telling clients like when something's really difficult, because they don't care. Yeah. They don't care. And it's not their job to care. Mm-hmm. It's, if you want them to feel bad for you, you can do that plenty of other ways, Yeah, you really do have a lot to shoulder, I think, when you're doing these projects, for sure. Well, and something that you brought up, that, talking about the way that people react to things, I always try to impress upon people how important, like especially when people talk about film school, for instance, I kind of always say, like, I would go to a regular ass college and get a degree, but take a bunch of other classes, get in trouble, like, because the way you react to certain things going wrong is kind of informed by how much you've had to deal with in life. Like, if you've been to prison, something bad going wrong probably won't pique your your camera died. Probably stop. Probably won't hit your, what am I trying to say? Won't max out your response mechanism, whereas if the worst thing that's ever happened to you is like, someone broke up with you. I think, if you're stuck in Canada in the cold, you'll freak out a lot harder than if you've had a lot of experience,
Dude, I totally agree. I mean, I think, let me see what's going on here real quick. Technical issues. Oh, there we go. No, I totally agree. Like, I ended up in I went to a regular college. I went to Cal State Fullerton. I didn't.
Oh, so did my sister.
Oh yeah. Oh, the one with the jewelry.
The jewelry one, yeah.
Same sister. Oh, all right, man. Yeah, I went there, and I was just kind of there. I didn't know what I was doing. They were like, "You're supposed to be in college." All right, I'll go to college, I guess. I was just kind of BSing around, like trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So I just took entertainment communications, and then I took a film class and was like, oh shit, you know. It was like a world cinema class. And I totally agree with you, because a lot of what informs how I do things was just all of those experiences and stuff, all those things you've been through. And you have to be able to, I think, bring your whole character into what you're doing, you know, because it isn't just theory, it's application, it's your life experiences. And those are all the things that you can't replicate. You know, I think we were talking about before, like with the gear, it's like you're leaning on the gear to make it look like you're making something really nice. And something I noticed was like, when they did that, it just emphasized more that the story or characters sucked. And there was nothing there, because it looked so good, but then there was nothing there. It was like shiny on the outside, but then there was nothing at its core, which is why I think Awkward Black Girl actually struck a chord, was because we were trying to have something in there, and it didn't maybe look super high end, but it was like, you'll accept that, you know, if there's something beneath the surface, kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm blanking on I always blank on whoever I just interviewed. I've had a few interviews this week, but we were just talking about there's like a triangle. There's the exposure triangle, but then there's the like filmmaking triangle of like good script, looks good, and like, I don't know what the third one, maybe it was good sound or something, but like you have to have two, you can't have one. So if it looks really good, but the script blows. Oh, acting, that's what it was. If the script blows and the acting sucks, but it looks good, people are going to hate it. But if the acting's really good and it looks good, but the script's okay, people will be like, well, you know, I was drawn in. Or if the script's amazing, but it looks bad and there's great acting, people are like, dude, I don't care if it looks like it was shot on a cell phone. Moonlight, classic example, you know?
Yeah. No, I for sure, I feel like the visual is, it's funny saying this, but the least important.
Yeah. Sound is more
to me, it's the most important. It is, man. When you have bad sound, it's just over with. You can't listen to bad sound for a long time. It's just crazy. Like if something looks bad, it's like, oh, that looks bad, whatever. But it doesn't keep bothering me. I'm just saying, oh, it looks bad. As long as it's consistent. As long as if it's like, it looks good, then it looks bad, that looks mediocre, then it looks like shit, then it looks amazing. I hate that. That drives me nuts. But I could.
And it just becomes the aesthetic if it looks, you know, if it's shot on DV. The kids love DV right now. I'll tell you what.
Oh yeah,
early 2000s point and shoots are coming back hard.
Really?
Yeah, dude. That's the new right. You know how film photography like hit a lick real quick for the past like 5 years or so? Now I'm not even joking, like Canon power shots.
Yo, that's sick.
Got one in a shoebox somewhere. Bring it out and start putting that on TikTok. I get 1 billion subscribers in a day.
I gotta bust it out, dude. I just bought my brother Sam does a lot of film stuff, and we went to New York for the Harlem screening of my episode, and so he brought
5 and 6, right?
6 and 7.
6 and 7.
I did 5 and. Yeah, I did 5. It was weird because they paired 5 and 6, but I did 6, and a different director did 5, and that same a different director did the finale. Yeah, it got a little crazy.
That's television.
I mean, yeah, 6 and 7, and so he brought.
You're at the premiere.
Yeah, it was that was the most important part. But yeah, he brought his Mamiya, and I was, when he was getting film, I was like, dude, what is that? And it was this. Hey, look at that.
This thing.
Oh man, there it is.
This bitch is hard to bring around.
Oh, shit,
it's so big.
Yeah. Oh my God. He had me I was taking some photos and it was like reverse. I was like, oh,
that's the other hard one.
I'll fall over. I feel like I'm drunk.
Yeah. Makes you really dizzy to look in there. So satisfying to pull the trigger though.
Oh my God.
You're like, hold on. Let's get some ASMR.
Let's do this. Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let's put this on. Auto mode. That's a good sound. Did it? Hold on. I'll do it for you. I think it might have noise reduced it out. Hold on. Go. It's a good shit.
Yo, like, so at the photography spot that we went to this place in Chinatown, and they had these disposable cameras. So I got this like Ilford disposable black and white. Dude, it was sweet. I just got it developed. It looks nice.
Oh yeah, dude. No, I got a big.
It's all like black and white. It's sick, man.
Yeah, like the HP5 disposables.
Yeah,
ST
or no,
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember.
Those look great.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
I was really surprised.
The on camera. That's the thing that I think most people who are getting to like older. Like, because I think people are into film and disposables and what I call party cams. I wrote a whole article in ProVideo about party cams.
Oh, dude, please send that to me. I got it.
Yeah. It's just the on-camera flash look. Everyone's like, because I've spoken to, it was a coworker of my girlfriend's. They're dance teachers, and she was like, I want a film camera. And when she was showing me all the photos she wanted to replicate, I was like, what you want is a camera with an on-camera flash. I can save you a lot of money. Like, you don't need or you buy an X100 to get the best of both worlds, but those fuckers are hard to get a hold of. But yeah, those look good though. I think black and white in a disposable is like such a good idea.
It's cool. I've never done it. It's really cool. I dig it. I dig it. Yeah, I think I started to do. Have you seen the Nons stuff that uses the Fujifilm? So check it. So it's NONS. It started as a Kickstarter, and it's a instant camera. It uses the Fuji Instax.
Okay.
But you can put 35 mil lenses on it.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Interesting. That's actually pretty. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I was using a Helios on it. 44-1.
Yeah. I used that. I used some Leicas on it, some of those like Super Takamar things. And yeah, man, it was cool. Like it's instant too. So it's like, it's just like a cool little, like you said, party, kind of like a party trick. Like, oh, here, look at it. Got this stacks thing. So it's fun. I'll try to take those on set.
Yeah. I actually have the Jeff Bridges coffee table book where he uses, I think it's called the Instalux or the Widelux. It's like a panoramic camera that he brings on set. And so there's all these photos from like Tron, whatever, in this black and white, super wide. It's great. It's just called like Jeff Bridges Photographs, I think. There's like,
dude, I didn't know about that. I got to check that out.
It's all behind the scenes stuff too. Like stuff from what's the with the dude?
Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski. I kept saying Bowling for Columbine. I was like, no. That's not it.
Yeah. I get why though.
Actually, one thing that now we're just kind of going off the rails, but one thing I started doing about 5 years ago is this guy had 3D designed for 3D printing these little adapters that you can put on either side of a roll of 35 millimeter film, and then you can put it in the back of your medium format camera. So the imaging circle with a medium format lens is whatever, that big, 7 centimeters across, whatever. And so the 35 millimeter strip goes all the way through the middle. So you end up exposing the entire negative past the sprocket shots, sprocket holes. The subreddit I started is called Sprocket Shots. But so I started printing those and selling them, and you can buy them on eBay too. But I got permission from the guy who designed them to sell them. So no one else, I guarantee no one else did. His name's on the side of mine and stuff, but I'll send you some of those photos too, because it's a very cool, that's a party trick, because every time you show someone that, they think it's like an overlay. Because not only are you getting, it's an interesting look, and you also get to see what film you shot with, because it goes past the sprockets, but because it's a much larger piece of film, it lowers the grain perceptually. In the image that you're looking, I'm sure if you print it out big as fuck, but instead of a 24 by 28 or whatever 35 millimeter film is, it's 4 inches. Yeah. So it's like this division, it's like 64 65 millimeter film width. So it looks like very fancy digital almost.
That's so cool. I got to show that to my brother too. Oh my God.
I'll send you some. If you live in town, I'll just give you some of the adapters. It cost me 5 cents to print them.
Oh shit. Okay, cool. Damn. Benefits of being in town.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I actually have another interview coming up, so I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
I'll DM you all that stuff. But it was fucking rad talking to you. And also congrats on Harlem. Like, it show looks sick.
Thank you.
Amazon. It's on Amazon. Before I ask the same 2 questions, I gotta ask you the questions. One.
Okay, I'll do it quick. I'll do it quick because you got another interview. Here we go.
Not in the next 5 minutes, but
Okay.
But first question, and this is weird with television shows, but whatever. If you were to program a double feature with Harlem, what would the other program be? It can be a show, it can be a movie, it can compare, it can contrast.
Okay. Now, I didn't have an answer at first, but I got one now. So what I would do is I would pair specifically 207, which is the Girls Trip episode of Harlem that I directed, with Girls Trip the movie, because Tracy, she wrote Girls Trip, and it was really cool to be able to do like a TV episode of a Girls Trip episode, but with a different cast. And so I was able to do a little homage in there. There's like, I kind of like blocked the characters from Harlem in the same way that it is in the poster of Girls Trip. And so that was really cool. And also just because I didn't know this, I found this out when we went to Sundance, and they brought Harlem there and premiered the first episode. Tracy was doing an interview and she said that she had actually written Harlem before Girls Trip and nobody was into it. And then she wrote Girls Trip. It became a huge success, and then they wanted Harlem. So it's like, sometimes you can do something and it's, at the time, it's not going to take off. You do another project. She used her own project as a proof of concept and like that it could work, and then brought an older project, and then that became her new project. So, that's perfect. That's what I would do.
That's so perfect. Yeah, I should actually start asking about the specific episodes people have directed, because I've always been like, well, it's a whole TV show, but that's just good. Anyway, second question. A lot of people always ask about, what's like a piece of advice you have or a good piece of advice you got? I want to know what the worst piece of advice you got is.
The worst piece of advice? What's the worst piece? Just about directing, or just anything.
Yeah, let's say about filmmaking in some capacity.
Filmmaking. I think the worst piece of advice that I got was sort of in the vein of just getting paid for what you do, like always. I think that money's cool, but I don't love it. Like, I know I need it, and I know I need it to survive, and I know I need it to just exist, but it's not the driving factor of what I do. And I don't think it's really that great for anybody if it is. I mean, there's always everything I've done, there are other forms of currency, and that's loyalty, it's creativity, it's just being additive to a project. And I always just try to be, wherever I go, make it better somehow, and it doesn't even have to necessarily, you're not even exerting a bunch of energy, but if you just kind of work on yourself and you're comfortable in yourself, it's like you just being there makes it better, because it's reassuring. It's like support. And so I think the worst advice was that, like, only do a job if you're getting paid. I didn't get paid for Awkward Black Girl. Tracy didn't get paid. Issa didn't get paid. But if you look where they're at now, it's like they're getting paid. It's like sometimes you got to do something you're passionate about without pay. Don't get taken advantage of. I think that's the breaking point. That's the threshold. But you don't always have to get paid, and there are other ways, to get paid.
Yeah. The more immediate one that I think of when it just thinking about getting paid is like if I ever do a job for a company and they say they have a low budget, oftentimes I'll ask if they can give me product instead. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, fuck yeah. So like so I do a lot of work with this company, Death & Co. They're a cocktail group. And
yeah, I'm aware. Yeah.
And so like the first job we ever did, they're like, hey man, like thanks so much for doing this. But we agreed to the terms ahead of time, but they were like, we don't have a lot of money for this. It's just kind of an idea. And I was like, well, if you guys will, treat me to a night at your restaurant, I'll rack up some cash and I'll just, tip the bartender. They're like, fuck yeah. Or like any like beverage company, product company. I did a job for Deity microphones and they were like,
love Deity. Yeah.
They're great. And so they were like, hey, we can pay you this much or we can give you some Aperture lights. And I was like, actually, can I have a set of your, because it's the same Deity and Aperture, the same company. And I was like, actually, I'm good on lights. Can I have those time code boxes that you guys make? And they're like, done. And so I actually got paid like a little more than they were planning on, plus the time code boxes. And overall, that was more than I was going to get paid anyway. So look for those little things when you're doing, more corporate shit.
Invaluable. It's invaluable. Amazing.
Cool, man. Well, I'll let you go and
Right, brother.
I'll DM you those things right now.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, let's catch up, but we'll connect.
For sure. All right. Take care, Ryan.
Man. Take care. Peace.
Frame and Reference is an Owlbot production. It's produced and edited by me, Kenny McMillan, and distributed by ProVideo Coalition. Our theme song is written and performed by Mark Pelly, and the F@R Mattbox logo was designed by Nate Truax of Truax Branding Company. You can read or watch the podcast you've just heard by going to provideocoalition.com or youtube.com/owlbot, respectively. And as always, thanks for listening.